Hello, CannaSphere family. Welcome to another exciting, exhilarating, enlightening CannaSphere Africa, where we bring you all the latest and, at the moment, not so greatest news happening in the South African and African cannabis industry. I'm coming to you live from my car studio. Thanks, Telkom. Not Telkom. What's the other one? Helcom. Eskom. That's it. Thanks, Eskom, for the load shedding. So I'm in my car, and I can do it because I can. Anyway, with lots going on today's show, Green Smoke Room, thank you for sponsoring this month. If you haven't checked out Green Smoke Room, they do all kinds of seeds and genetics. This is them. Check them out online. Thank you for being our sponsor for this month. Always good to have you guys on board. Check them out online. Today's been a really big day because this morning we've had public submissions for the Private Purposes Bill, which closed last week. And today there was a debate in Parliament where we got to present things, which I believe I couldn't attend, but I believe was a bit of a dog show. Brett will be giving us some information on that in a minute. Also, don't forget that in a week and a half, 2 weeks' time, we are live on DSTV. I'll give you more details on that at the end. Noxy today talks about the hottest cannabinoids in the system. Jeff talks about ethanol extraction and Mexico, and Dr. Carmen talks about CBG. And Cuban will talk about beneficial insects. I know that we think that sometimes insects are not beneficial, but they're very beneficial. And he's going to tell us about how insects can deal with other insects. Linda, before we go any further, let us know what the headlines are. Hello. Come in, Linda.
How's it?
How's
it? How are you doing?
Look,
Good,
you're in a
good,
nice
man.
sunny place and I'm in my car.
Well, yeah, I had to just balance it out a bit, just so the equilibrium can be at its homostatic.
Yeah, don't you love technology though? We literally, I mean, we've done this series from many different locations. This has to be the weirdest, but I know that the signal is stable here, and it's nice and acoustically treated. Can you hear
That's
that?
the thing.
See, you can't. There's no reverb.
Sounds
Sorted.
very crisp.
Right.
Crisp.
Let's not waste time. Get over the headlines.
Cool. Yeah. So today we talk about the revised cannabis bill is back in Parliament today. So Brett's going to be offloading some of the jazz and the awesomeness that happened whilst that was going on this morning. The agricultural body calls for the full commercial trade in cannabis products. Hemp farmers risk losing another season because of too much red tape. The CSIR to offer agri-processing services for cannabis. And Kenyan presidential hopeful calls for cannabis legalization. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Nigel. Welcome to the show. This is going to be a frustrating show because on the one hand, there's so much good stuff going on. And on the other hand, it's a complete disaster. But anyway, let's discuss that just now. Brett, over to you for the headlines. Share us the news.
Greetings from the mountains in Limpopo, where there's a strong autumn sun drying off the last of the KZ inner weather that hit us up here as well. We start with the breaking news from Parliament, where the Cannabis for Private Purposes Bill is being discussed. Just hours ago, respected lawyer and director of the Umzimvubu Farmer Support Network, Ricky Stone, dropped this bombshell. He said he had evidence that licensed sapra growers in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape and Gauteng were dumping cannabis flower that they couldn't export into the local illegal market. He said he'd been mandated by Mpondoland cannabis growers to take the issue up with SAPRA as this mass dumping was hurting his clients financially. Stone maintains that under international customary law, traditional cannabis communities are already entitled to legally make a living from their crops. He told the Justice and Correctional Services Portfolio Committee that he reserved his rights with them because of the late notice of being asked to present today. Participants were only informed of the meeting on Sunday night, which was too short notice by Parliament's own rules. But committee members were more shocked by his allegations that SAPRA licensees in 3 provinces were selling to the illegal market. Stone said he'd keep the committee up to date with the developments, which he promised to take further. He said the alleged dumping had led to a stockpile of cannabis building up in rural Eastern Cape villages and that many traditional communities were facing increased poverty because their urban markets were drying up. Still in Parliament, the Cannabis for Private Purposes Bill came in for another predictable mauling. Several presentations have been made by cannabis stakeholders, all pointing out that the bill was even less constitutionally acceptable than before. Lawyer Paul Michael Kegel told MPs that if the bill was passed into law without substantial changes, there was a high risk it would be challenged in court and South Africa would not have any enforceable cannabis law for possibly years to come. The cannabis bill has also come under fire from the family farming organization, SA Agricultural Initiative. It's called for the commercial trade in cannabis and cannabis products, saying that the Constitutional Court ruled that consuming cannabis was legal. They asked the question, if the consumer is allowed to eat pork, the farmer must be allowed to sell bacon. Both good and bad news on the hemp front. Good news is that the CSIR is to make its agro-processing facilities available to small-scale farmers and will help them develop commercial products. It says it's committed to helping subsistence farmers get into the hemp value chain by making use of its research and product development team. It's been backed by the Department of Science, Information and Innovation. That's the good news. Well, the bad news is that there may not be much of a hemp season this year to grow crops to make products from. That's because excessive red tape is strangling the hemp industry since the Department of Agriculture took over the application process from SAPRA and got the Department of Justice involved. In some cases, there's been a 4-month delay because the applications are bottlenecking at SAP's level. As Nati Ferreira asked in his letter to the President recently, what is an agricultural crop doing in the Justice Cluster, Mr. President? I emailed Delrod last week actually to inquire how many hemp permits have actually been issued. Trenton, I'm still waiting for a reply. And finally, in our focus on Africa, Kenyan opposition leader George Wajakoya of the Roots Party has called for the legalization of cannabis ahead of the August presidential elections. The former lawyer, who's standing on an anti-corruption ticket, says the proceeds of legal cannabis cash sales will help the country pay off its debt to China, particularly since they hold Mombasa port as security for a loan. Wajakoya said if he was elected, he would symbolically smoke his first joint to banish evil spirits from State House, Parliament, and the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Wajakoya said that although he'd never smoked bung in his entire life, he would do so to mark the beginning of a new country. Back to you, Trenton.
Now, let's see how that rolls out, but that could be really progressive. You know, I think obviously he's trying to canvass for votes, so it could backfire if people are really into cannabis in Kenya, but it might not. I really, you know, Brett, I'm an eternal optimist, you know, and I really believe that we will get this right eventually. But I'm trying to bite my tongue because right now, what's going on is a complete effing disaster. Okay, it is really a disaster. I mean, we all know that that people are doing whatever they can. You can't spend 10, 20 million rand on a facility and find that due to red tape and issues that you just can't make your money back. So what we've done is capacitated one part of the industry, you know, mainly people with money, and completely taken the food off the table from another part of our community. Yeah. It's a complete travesty. And the fact is that we've been talking about the Eastern Cape rural farmers for the last 3 years since the Private Purposes Bill came into play, and absolutely nothing has been done. Nothing. You know, and I think it's an absolute disgrace what our government is doing at the moment. So I've always been a proponent and a supporter of government, and I'm encouraging, and there are people in government who are really trying, but there needs to be a collective force and one voice, and we need to sort this out and sort it out now. Rant over.
I'm with you, and I'll sum it up in one brief sentence. There are two contradictory parallel processes that have been happening. One, Concord said we must legalize private consumption, and that was given to the Department of Justice to draft the law. On the other hand, the Department of Trade and Industry and Government thought we've got to have a national cannabis master plan in agriculture, and they've got another whole set of ideas about empowering small-scale farmers. And the problem is that there are many voices speaking within government, and until such time as there's some sort of cohesion there, this kind of legislative bumbling along this nightmare will continue.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. You know, I mean, we're running a thing called Cannaden today at our campus, which is about our students pitching their ideas like Dragon's Den style. And, you know, some of the ideas are really strong and there's a lot of passion and you know, time has gone into thinking about this. And the one guy had an idea and I was just like, bro, I can't invest in you because you're completely illegal. You know, and these are people who really care about what they're trying to do. They really care about the consumer. They really care about making sure that they're delivering a good product. You know, so the industry is stumbling forward while all this nonsense takes place on the ground. So it's very frustrating. Anyway, let's talk about it further. Just want to say a big shout out to the Canna Club from Plet. We have a campus in Plet with the Canna Club. So thanks for joining us, Canna Club. Romain Mitchell, thanks for joining us. We're getting lots of traction actually across the African continent at the moment. So Viva Kenya, show us the way. Let us learn from you. But right now, let's take a look at the hottest, sexiest cannabinoids that you should know. Over to you, Noxy. Boom.
Hottest and sexiest, I like that. Good afternoon and welcome to the CannaSphere Lifestyle Desk with me, the Kush Queen. Now, CBD and THC are obviously the most widely researched compounds in the cannabis plant, and for good reason. Both compounds have shown tremendous success through both anecdotal evidence as well as clinical research when it comes to dozens of ailments. But researchers have discovered that there are other notable compounds in cannabis that are just as important as CBD and THC. Just like terpenes, there are specific cannabinoid products that are now available on the market. Each of them have their own cannabinoid profile, which has various benefits for the human mind and body. So without further ado, roll the clip, Linda. Here are 4 of the hottest cannabinoids that you should know. At number 1, we have cannabigerol. Guys, I can't say this word. I've been practicing it for like days now and I still can't get it. Now, cannabigerol is the grandfather of THC and CBD because chemically speaking, it serves as the foundation and building block that cannabis plants use to produce these other compounds. Research shows that it may have numerous benefits, especially for anxiety, treating IBS, tumors, and bacterial conditions. And I think Dr. Carmen is going to let us know more about CBG a little later on. At number 2, we have tetrahydrocannabivarin, THCV. It possesses a similar molecular makeup as THC, though it has less carbon atoms. It's widely used as an appetite suppressant. So if you're trying to lose a little weight, it would be beneficial to look for products that have THCV. Research has shown that it can be beneficial for diabetics as well in managing blood glucose. At number 3, CBN or cannabinol. This is a cannabinoid created when THC has degraded because it was exposed to light or when your cannabis has aged. If you ingest all cannabis, the CBN content is mildly sedating, which can come in handy for people struggling with insomnia. Some researchers believe that even a small amount of CBN is adequate for relaxing the body compared to a 10 milligram pill of Valium or Panado or whatever you use to try and make yourself go to sleep. So if you do have old weed lying around, don't throw it away. It's still got some cannabinoids that can help you out. And then at number 4, we have cannabichromine or CBC, the second most abundant cannabinoid in most cannabis strains, believe it or not, after THC and CBD. Scientists do know that it enhances the benefits of other cannabinoids, especially CBG, CBN, THC, and CBD, through the entourage effect. It's also interesting to note that current research says CBC is 10 times more powerful than CBD when it comes to treating stress and anxiety. Who would have thunk it? I don't know, Trenton. I'm trying to get myself some THCV, trying to get back to the gym, trying to get my summer body, trying to suppress my appetite. What about you?
All I can say is thank goodness that we have these abbreviations for these cannabinoids because I can't remember half of those words. They're so long. You know? But what you're talking about is that cannabis is good for our health. We know that cannabis is good for the environment, sustainability-wise. We know that cannabis can replace plastics. But it's still illegal. Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting because people will get bored of my ranting. But thank you for that, Noxy. I think it's so important. And we're still discovering new cannabinoids all the time. And I think what's going to be very exciting in the future is when we isolate. Now, I'm a full plant extract person. I believe in full plant. But I believe that there is a place to extract certain cannabinoids for certain ailments and certain illnesses. So that I think we're only scratching the surface of that now. So I think that's going to be fantastic. What is your favorite cannabinoid apart from THC? Oh, you're gone. Now you're back. Power of flower. Thanks, Sherry Dixon. Power of flower. Flower power.
Power of the flower.
Power of the flower. What's your favorite cannabinoid apart from THC?
THCV, I just said. I'm trying to lose weight.
THCV, be hot. Of course. THCV is actually incredible. And basically, for those of you who don't know, THCV is what you get in cannabis that only changes to THC when it's decarboxylated, heated.
Nigel
very,
says
very good for you.
THCV is more prevalent in southern African land races, but not all, and it makes the high somewhat psychedelic in character. Thanks for that, Nigel. I didn't know that.
Thanks, Nigel. That's really interesting. Psychedelics, you know. Okay, right, Noxy, we'll see you later. Let's cross over to Jeff, who's going to talk about ethanol extraction and what's popping in Mexico.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about some ethanol extraction equipment that's being commissioned in South Africa at the moment. Essentially, what we have is a large vessel where that stainless steel vessel will hold and retain your biomass. Into that biomass, we will inject a very cold stream of -40 degrees Celsius ethanol. The reason it's that cold is because it leaves the chloroform waxes mostly behind when we're extracting. So in this cold mixture, it will basically focus on extracting the cannabinoids of interest. Those cannabinoids will then be pumped out of the system into a receivable tank. And from that receivable tank, we'll ultimately be taking that system onto the next stage of solvent recovery. In terms of the international news, what we've seen is that Mexico has gone back to the courts to relook at that 5-gram carrying limit to potentially expunge that and remove it. But judges are still busy deciding what to do with that. It does obviously infringe on privacy to be doing counts of weight on an individual. And then when we come to actually Argentina, we've seen a province that's gone ahead looking at supporting and driving grow shops, which would be great to see in the South American area. Back to you, Trenton.
Thanks, Jeff. Things are moving so fast overseas, guys, like so fast, you know, and we're competitive as South Africans, you know, we're sporty, we're driven, we're hungry, we need to move things forward. Just give us the opportunity, please, Cyril. Give us the opportunity. I mean, if you look at that piece of equipment there, it's a scientific piece of equipment. It's been designed by scientists who have studied and understand how the mechanics work. You know, this is not an industry about just getting stoned. It is so deep, and it's very frustrating it's not coming online yet. Anyway, on that light note, let's cross over to Dr. Carmen, who's going to talk about CBG.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Carmen. Now, you may know that CBD can be used on the skin as an anti-inflammatory. But did you know that there's potentially another cannabinoid that could be even more powerful than CBD? And that cannabinoid is CBG, or cannabigerol. Now, cannabigerol is a minor cannabinoid that's found in the cannabis sativa plant. And it's actually a precursor to both CBD and THC. So CBD and THC actually come from CBG. Now, in a study that was published in Molecules, they were really looking at the differences between CBD and CBG and its impact on the skin. Now, the study compared these two cannabinoids, and it was the first ever study to look at the impact of CBG on real human skin. This was quite exciting because the study actually looked at the ability of these cannabinoids to improve the skin barrier function, as well as to reduce inflammation, and they measured this by looking at redness. Now, the study showed that both CBD and CBG were able to modulate and impact several genes that were intricately involved in skin aging, hydration, and inflammation, but that CBG actually modulated over 1,400 more genes than CBD. Both CBD and CBG were found to have potent antioxidant properties, even better than vitamin C, and that CBG actually also protected against skin inflammation that's triggered by UVA and UVB rays, as well as acne-forming bacteria. What they also found in the study is that CBG also helped to improve the skin barrier function. So what the study did was it proved for the very first time that CBG was both safe and effective at promoting healthy skin and at reducing the appearance of redness and improving skin barrier function. And the study concluded that based on their data, CBG was an attractive new candidate for dermatological use, outperforming its well-known derivative, CBD.
Well, on the back of that, I would say that today CBG is the hottest cannabinoid. So it just shows you the scope and scale of what we can actually do with this incredible plant. Right now, we're going across to Cuban Zulu, who's going to talk about beneficial insects and how we can use certain insects to deal with other insects rather than big fly swatters. Over to you, Cuban.
Hi, cannabis community. Coming to you live from CannaSphere's Grow Desk at a remote location. Today I'm speaking about another chemical-free alternative to dealing with pests in your garden. So you have companion plants and you have beneficial insects. Such insects, keep your pest problem under control, and some can actually improve your soil quality as well. My pick are ladybugs, which the adults eat aphids, mites, mealybugs, and their larvae also eat pests. So as you can see in the image, that's an aphid infestation that's all over the whole location that it's actually stuck onto the tires of cars. Other bugs such as lacewings or green lacewings eat caterpillars, stripes, and whiteflies. If you plant plants like cosmos, this will attract them to your garden. And lastly, my third pick is braconid wasps. The adult females inject eggs into a host insect, which would be the pest, of course, and that larva actually eats it from the inside out. Plants like parsley attract them to your garden. And finally, if you're not using companion plants to attract these beneficial insects into your garden, you can also buy them from places like locally. You can buy them from places like Happy Harvest, BioLeaf, and Kaya Farms. They sell even more microscopic type insects, beneficial mites, predatory mites, and nematodes, and so forth. Thank you.
What I want to know is there a predatory mite for mosquitoes? Because those are the only things I want to swap. You know me, I'm like a vegan. I believe in all earthlings, and I don't even kill ants and stuff. But when it comes to mosquitoes, I call it self-defense. So any solutions for that?
Okay. I think we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. I'm not hearing anything Trenton's saying, but I'm looking at his handsome face,
Thank you. All right, Cuban. See you later, man. Thanks so much. Cool. It brings us to the end of the show. Lots of stuff going on at the moment, and exciting and frustrating and all those kind of things. Brett,
Yes.
what would you like to see happen in the next 2 months in the cannabis industry?
I would
know
like to
it's a big question, but
yes, very quick. I would like to see the stuff that's been happening in the private sector working group on the regulatory issues there. Those lawyers, including people like Gareth Prince and that, taking over the drafting of the legislation and that replacing the Cannabis for Private Purposes bill. I think that's the only reasonable way we can get legislation out this year that's not going to be challenged in court.
yeah, good point. Noxy?
I think for me, I'm not very well versed in law and all of the things that happen legally behind the scenes, but I'd really, really, really love to see the industry open up a bit more to local farmers, especially in the Eastern Cape and in KZN. And I'd also love to see a little bit of the red tape just, let's just open it up a bit. It's so weird because yesterday I was reading an article and you would think that in the States things are a bit better. But even there, the red tape has become so bad that the illegal market is actually doing better than the legal market in the US. And I think that's going to be what it is across the board in every country all over the world, if we don't do something.
Yeah, we just got to keep pushing, guys. I just want to thank all of the people that have been supporting the show. The show is growing. We're getting people from across Africa, lots of comments. And so it's really exciting. If you have any interest in the African cannabis industry, please tell your friends. Subscribe on the bottom there, and follow us every week. We are coming onto DSTV. Linda, do you want to just bring us that DSTV slide, which can show when we're on? They're actually going to show this program 3 times a week, which is completely mind-blowing. So across the whole African continent, you will be able to see us on these times. We start in 2 weeks' time, so we're super excited about that. Spreading the love of cannabis education. What does Nigel say? I want to personal parasite that will torment mosquitoes and bite me. If you invent that, Nigel, you're going to be a billionaire. I think mosquitoes are the only, I believe, and don't quote me, I believe mosquitoes are the only insect on the planet that have no actual purpose. Is that right? I don't know if anyone else heard that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so apart to sting you and buzz in your ear. Anyway,
Yep.
on that note,
Well,
Brett, thanks for the updates. It's exciting
Thank you,
times. Yeah.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.
Well, listen, just for anyone in the Limpopo region, the Cannabis Cup is happening this weekend in Sanin and at Brett's venue, King's Walden, which is a beautiful space. So if you're up in the Limpopo area, check out Cannabis.
The Cannabis Cup. Just Google it and you'll find us easy. We're expecting
Awesome.
40. We're expecting 25 entrants to be judged. It's all looking very exciting. 200 people expected. It's going to be a jewel. So come along if you can.
Come along if you can. And that's it from us, guys. Peace and love. See you next week.